for authentication, whether we are using any Active Directory environment that are existing, or we want to use any kind of LDAP environment if we are talking about the Linux or any kind of environments, or there is any kind of Radius server where we can have the authentication on the device itself. So this can be defined here with respect to the authentication part. And we also have a user section where we can create the individual users on which this users can be defined for local access or the remote access. And there is one thing with respect to the policies. This is also very important with respect to the kind of policies we want to have, whether with respect to the access time, like how the scheduling can be done, or the surfing quota, like what kind of bandwidth we can use, or what kind of amount of thing that can be accessed on the firewall, or with respect to the data transfer. So all these kind of things can be used. And we also one more section called live users, where all the connected users on this device will be notified here, like the VPN. Let's say there is a remote user who is connected onto the organization, so that user can be notified here, so that we can have from which IP, from which public IP the user has been connected, onto which IP address of the local user, what is the time he has connected. So that kind of statistics can be viewed here. And the most important part is the firewall part, where we'll see one sample how the rules can be written. So this is the rule part. In this rule, again, we need to define on which from which zone to which zone we are trying to write the rule. It's not that we write the rule generically, but we need to specify what kind of rule we are trying to allow and from which particular zone we want to write the rule. Now, let's say we go to a particular rule, how to write a rule from LAN to WAN. Okay, let's say I want to allow an internet connection to the particular users of the organization, from the internal network to the outside network. Okay, now this is where we can define. Now let's say this is the rule name, that is internet, and we can observe the zones that can be identified, because as I have selected all LAN to WAN, so it is already took that kind of zones. Or we can also define here what kind of zones we want, whether we want to write from WAN to WAN or WAN to LAN, that also we can define it here. Okay, like we can have this drop down where we can define the kind of zones we want. Okay, and the other part is the kind of the kind of source as well as the destination on which I want to access. Now let's say this is one particular rule from WAN to LAN. Okay, from WAN or from public, let's say there is a branch office connected that need to connect to my LAN. Now I can define here what is the IP that I want to allow. Let's say out of this internet or the communication that is coming onto the WAN, I can define a specific IP only which through the communication can be allowed or denied. And also even on the LAN, I can define what is the IP that need to be connected, right? So along with that, I can also define the kind of services that need to be defined, whether we want, or else Akash, you can show the other rule from LAN to WAN so that we can get a lot of options for that. Okay, now here we can define what kind of IP addresses that we can have. We can select the number of IPs or even the interfaces we can select, even with respect to MAC or the FQDN. What are the kind of specifications we have given in the earlier part that can be defined here. And we can also, same thing, we can also define on the WAN also. Now let's say from LAN to WAN, a specific user has to connect to a specific WAN user. Then we can define that particular user in the LAN interface, that specific IP. Even in the WAN also, we can define that specific public IP on which we want to connect. Okay, and what kind of service they want to access. Okay, let's say a user A has to connect it to a public IP B. Now this A from my internal network is trying to connect to the public IP B. But what kind of service he want to access? Whether we are to be connected, or let's say only port number 8 or port number 8 or HTTP I want, then we define that HTTP here so that only that HTTP service is allowed to that particular user. So this is how we can define. And also according to the scheduling, whether that particular rule can be allowed all the time during the entire day, or we can schedule only during the office hours or a specific time or a specific period. that can be defined. And what kind of action? This is the main part. Whether we want to allow that or accept the communication, or whether we want to deny or drop the communication, or whether we want to reject. Again, there are two kind of things that can be there with respect to drop and reject. Whenever there is a drop, the connection will be simply dropped. But if we write a rule with respect to reject, a kind of notification will be sent to the other party saying that this has been dropped with respect to kind of rule. Okay, if we want any kind of notifications in that case, we can select that, or simply if we want to drop, then we can simply drop the connection or accept according to that. So this is the action part according to the rules we have written that can be taken on the firewall. And the other part is the apply NAT or the network address translation we want to have, where masquerading means the entire communication will be NATed to the other network. Now let's say whatever the communication that is coming from the LAN interface, that is directly mapped to the WAN interface. So, or else if you have a different NATing policy, then that can be also enabled here. And this is the important part which are also talking about the security policies. Now we have defined, right? There are certain parts with respect to the security services that are available as part of my firewall section. Then here we can define that whether we want to enable any application filter that can be defined with respect to the application part, or there is a kind of filter or rule written with respect to the web part that can be done. Okay, and there is a certain section with respect to the intrusion prevention that can be also defined with respect to the IPS. And even for the IM scanning or the kind of web application firewall that can be enabled. Even the antivirus and anti-malware scanning, on which protocol we want to enable this antivirus part, that also can be defined. And whenever we enable this particular services, along with the rule that is defined here, along with this rule, these security features are also implemented on the same rule. So whenever in this particular rule, a user is trying to connect to the WAN interface, or a user A with an IP, internal IP A is connecting to public IP B. Now, along with this action, this kind of security features are also applied. That means whatever the traffic that is flowing, a particular web filter will be applied, application filter will be applied, antivirus scanning will be done. So all these kind of security features are also applied. And even the bandwidth kind of control which you have seen, that can be also applied, whether we want to have any load balancing or any kind of quality of service bandwidth related, that can be done here. And the most important part, log. Whatever the rule we have writing, we need to enable the log, because that is where everything will be monitored for the real-time analysis, or can be archived so that it can be analyzed at a later point of time. So this logging of the traffic is very important on whatever the rule we write. Okay, so this is how the rules can be written. This is one of the sample rule we have discussed. Similarly, we have all the kind of rules we need to check with respect to that. And the most important part also we are talking about the rules is the preference. The numbers we have right here, the IDs or the kind of numbers we have. So these are with respect to the kind of rule preference that can be there whenever the firewall is checking the rules. So that also need to be kept in mind. And the other part is we have with respect to the virtual host. Now let's say we have a DMZ or a kind of environment where we are hosting the services. Now with this kind of thing, we can define this DMZ. Now let's say I am assigning a public IP of 192.168.0.10, which is given to the public, but onto which IP I am mapping this. Mapping is an internal thing. Again, there is an IP called 172.2.10. So for this, I am mapping the IP. So this kind of mapping can be done onto port number 80. That means my internal service or the DMZ kind of IP is exposed to public with a certain IP with a proper with a port. That means from public, if anyone is trying to access this public IP, the traffic actually will come to the firewall. Now the firewall will check, okay, is there any kind of rule that is applied onto this particular public IP? Now this will be mapped to the internal IP onto this port and the traffic is sent. So this is how the NATing or the virtual hosting can be done with respect to the firewall. Also, we have a sections with respect to the VPN for the remote users. And also we have a specific sections for intrusion prevention systems where we can write the rules. And also with respect to web filters, application filters, the kind of policies we can write to block or to allow. Even for antivirus and anti-spam, we have certain sections where the rules can be applied or the rules can be downloaded from the vendor side, or we can also write the customized rules. And the main important part we are talking about is the logs and reports. So this is where the logs are to be can be viewed if we have the section called a log viewer, where we have all the logs with respect to the traffic that is going on. Okay, so we can observe the kind of logs that are available. Okay, and also whenever the logs are applied, it can be applied only on the local system. But let's say my RAM or my storage on the firewall is only limited to 1 day, so that I can only do the real-time scanning or real-time analysis for 1 day. But I want to store my logs for a longer time or based on the policy of the organization. Archive these particular logs for let's say 3 months or 4 months. Then in that case, we can use the syslog or the kind of servers where I can push all kind of server push syslog servers, so that along with the these are stored their place, so that I can have this log stored for a specific amount of time. So we need to kind of IP and the port on which I want to store on the remote device. That kind of settings we can do device. These want to speak a particular section, so that we can define this along with the local logs. We can also store the devices onto the storage part. So this is about the firewall section. Then we can quickly move on to the wireless security part or the wireless settings. We'll try to demonstrate the wireless access point. Where we can show what's the same kind of settings or the security settings that are available on the wireless access point, so that because mostly as we are using the wireless access points at our home, at our organization, we can see what kind of security features that are available on the access points also. Akash, can you please share the presentation control to me? Naresh, okay, thank you. I got the presentation control. Now let's say this is one access point which we got. Okay. Sorry, I'll be sharing my screen. Yeah, I hope this is visible. So this is the access point which we generally have at our home, like the broadband connections or the kind of access points which we have. And we can see all the kind of information related to what kind of parameters that we have with respect to SSID. SSID nothing but the kind of name that we see on the access point to access, and what kind of channel we have, what kind of maximum transmission rate we have. And with respect to, again, we have two parts on the access point. One is the LAN kind of environment. The other is the WAN. WAN is nothing but the public network that is connected. If you have Airtel or some kind of other broadband network, then that is the WAN part from their end, and LAN will be the kind of systems which are connected to. So this is the interface of we have. So the kind of statistics we can have, and with respect to the network, we can define what kind of WAN we have. If we have the WAN port plugged in, we will get the IP of that particular broadband IP here. And we have a LAN kind of IP that can be connected or managed with respect to the access point. And the other part is with respect to the wireless settings. We can define the SSID or the name of the access point here. And we can also enable or disable the SSID here. Now, let's say if the SSID is enabled, anyone who is scanning the network can actually see our ID. So if we want to disable that, we can uncheck this particular option available in all the access points, so that our SSID will be hidden. Only if we know the name, we need to also type the name whenever we are trying to connect it from the client. So we need to also type the name as well as the password, then only we can be connecting to the access point. So we can also disable the SSID broadcast using here. And with respect to WPA settings, it's not suggested to actually keep the access point as open. That means disabling the security. We need to enable the kind of security on the wireless. So currently we have WPA2 on this access point. And if we talk about the enterprise, this may be combined with respect to any radius server or any kind of thing. It is always suggested to use the highest level of encryption. WPA is already outdated because it is very easy to crack. So it is always suggested to use WPA2 or the kind of higher encryption apart from WPA2. Okay, so use always the kind of higher encryption that is available in the access point. The current is WPA2 and beyond. So use that, and the kind of encryption also use AES and the higher encryption. We can go for this. And also we have one more section called MAC filtering, where let's say we have a particular kind of laptop that only need to be accessed onto this wireless access point. Then we can define that particular access point MAC address here, so that only this MAC address can be used to be accessed onto this wireless access point, or whether we want to access or deny, that filtering rule can be done onto this access point using the feature called MAC filtering. And also we can define the kind of transmission that we have, whether if it is high means the beacon travel or the kind of signal will be high, or else if you want to keep it in a low profile mode, only can be accessed within a specific premise. That accordingly the transmit power can also be defined. And also here the statistics can be checked with respect to the wireless, how much kind of stations that are connected. And this is with respect to the default DHCP settings. By default, whenever we talk about the access point, the DHCP is enabled, or if we want to disable also, we can disable. And whenever it is enabled, we can define the kind of IPs that can be provided. Now let's say in an home environment, we have only 3 laptops that at a time can be connected. Okay, then we can define that kind of IP addresses here. Instead of 100 IPs, we can define only 3. So after these 3 IP addresses are released, if a new IP is or a new system is trying to connect, the IP will not be enabled onto this DHCP. So accordingly, we can limit the kind of IPs that can be defined. And there is a query that whether we can have multiple SSIDs. Yes, in most of the access points that are currently available, and even the kind of broadband provided access points, we have this multiple SSIDs feature, where along with one IP, we can also define different SSIDs along with the different passwords, right? Let's say one access point, we can have 2 or 3 different SSIDs and 2 different passwords. If we do not want to share our own username password with respect to that, we can define another SSID and we can limit the kind of access to that. If we want to share that access point to our colleagues, or if there is a necessity to share it to some others, we can give a different SSID also. So that kind of features are also available. At most, we can add 4 multiple SSIDs on a single access point. Okay, and this is address reservation. Again, we can make a kind of address reservation with respect to binding with respect to a particular MAC address. Also, the kind of virtual servers where we have seen there may be certain kind of environment. Even in an organization, we may be using a access point from the ISP, but I want to host or bind a particular virtual host. Then I can define it here on a particular IP, on a particular port, we can define a particular kind of virtual host so that it can be accessed using this particular rule. And a port triggering, the DMZ zone can be defined. And this is one particular feature where the universal plug and play can be used. But as part of security feature, we recommend you to disable this particular option, because if this is enabled, then certain devices can be automatically discover and can connect using this particular option. And we have a basic the security part. Again, we have a firewall section in most of the access points. We recommend you to enable all the kind of security features that are how the security parameters can be accessed, and we have a lot of controls with respect to access and the bandwidth kind of things, which we have already seen in the previous firewall section. Okay. So coming to the chat box, I have one question with respect to multiple SSIDs, which we have answered already, where with respect to new kind of access points, the multiple SSIDs can be possible along with the different passwords also. Naresh, are there any questions with respect to from your side so that I can